Hello, everyone. All right, we're going to get this meeting started. Welcome to the Friends of the Rouge annual membership meeting. My name is Marie McCormick, Executive Director of Friends of the Rouge. I use she, her pronouns. I am a 30-something white woman with long sandy brown hair, and I am wearing a blue Friends of the Rouge shirt. I am joining you this afternoon from our Friends of the Rouge headquarters here in Plymouth. I just want to make sure y'all can see me. Am I centered? Just give me a yes, no. Good. Thanks, Kara. So I had the honor of kicking off this digital experience as a 4th annual virtual meeting for the organization. We really do miss seeing you in person, but it has become apparent that hosting this event virtually brings greater accessibility to more of the community. Now, before I begin, just a few housekeeping items. Tonight's webinar is designed to be a town hall style meeting, meaning that we welcome you to ask questions or make suggestions or comments throughout this event. Please place them in the Q&A box you can find at the bottom of your screen. So thanks to Rosina and Sam. They will be fielding questions in the Q&A. Renato and someone else. Renato and Sarah, thank you. Renato and Sarah will be monitoring the chat box. And Jackie will be connecting and monitoring our Facebook Live tonight. And Jackie will also be chatting on our socials. So we plan to address any questions or comments at the end of this presentation following our award, basically following our awards announcement. The presentation should last about 1 to 1.5 hours. And we will try to field as many questions until our hard stop at 5:30. Please note that staff will be describing images on each slide for those visually impaired. Additionally, they will be describing their basic physical features and clothes. You may have noticed the way that I introduced myself at the start of this program. Friends of the Rouge believes that the process of introductions during group gatherings are an important way to ensure a welcoming, inclusive, and an accessible experience for all. So you can see here, there are 3 images on the screen, one of fall, winter, and summer scenes in the Rouge along with the FOTR logo. In addition, we have enabled a live audio transcription. As a participant, you have the option to keep it on or turn it off. This afternoon's presentation is being recorded and will be available to watch on our YouTube channel within 24 hours, so stay tuned. I hope our comments this afternoon offer an open forum to communicate the actions that Friends of the Rouge has taken this year to advance our mission. Your thoughts and comments matter. Please share. Kara, can you advance the slide? So the image on this slide depicts a close-up of what many know today as Southeast Michigan. It's overlaid with a variety of colors that represent the traditional ancestral home of Indigenous people. We will take a moment of silence to demonstrate respect, raise awareness, and affirm the ongoing relationships between Indigenous people and the land. We acknowledge the ancestral, traditional, and contemporary lands on which our watershed exists. Next slide, please. Our mission at Friends of the Rouge is to restore, protect, and enhance the Rouge River Watershed through stewardship, education, and collaboration. Our river encompasses a really large part of the Detroit metropolitan area in Southeast Michigan. So you can see on this map, the red is urban, and it's home to about 1/4 of the people in the state. So about 1.35 million people, 47 communities, and 3 counties. The images on this slide on the left depict a satellite image of the state of Michigan, highlighting areas of high urban density, with the outline of the Rouge similar to the shape of a fan. The top right image depicts a large group of volunteers gathered together after a cleanup event, and the bottom left image depicts the tip of a kayak in the industrialized section of the Rouge, with some kayakers in a factory-looking building in the background. Next slide, please. We want to take a moment to acknowledge organizations that are supporting a Better River at a watershed sponsorship level. For us, that means 50,000 or more in sponsorship for a business, agency, or foundation, or over 20,000 for an under 5 million in revenue nonprofit. If you have any questions about business or nonprofit support opportunities, please contact our development director, Laura Edwards, who you will meet later today. The logos representing our watershed sponsors in this slide are as follows: Alliance of Rouge Communities, Bosch Community Fund, Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan, the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, the Fred A. and Barbara M. Erb Family Foundation, the Gilbert Family Foundation, the National Kidney Foundation of Michigan, the National Fish and Wildlife Federation, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, the Ralph C. Wilson Jr. Foundation. Next slide, please.
I think it was really my name.
This is the board of directors. These are dedicated individuals who have generously given of their time, talent, and treasure. These are the 3 T's of a successful board member. Each one of them have grown exponentially over the past year, stepping up as dedicated committee members, fundraisers, and committing to the existing prospects for organizational sustainability. I am pleased to present our 2023 board of directors. These folks were elected in 2022. And so I will name our board, and I'm going to name our 2023 board this year. So our president is Jessica Island Anders, vice president Alice Bailey, secretary Jerry Van Acker, treasurer Carol Snodgrass, member at large is Mike McNulty, and that is our executive committee. Our directors are Dr. Paul Draus, Nick Leonard, Irma Leapart, Dave Norwood, Brandy Solacek, Sue Thompson, Myra Tedeth, Dr. Myra Tedeth, Jeremiah Steen, and Samra Lokman. Members, your participation in the annual elections is critical to forming an incredible board. We will be voting for board members again in November of 2023. So be ready to vote. You can vote by proxy. That will be available again this year. We will send out a link on or before sort of early November. So let us know if you'd like to be considered for a board position, or you know someone who wants to join. You may email me at mmccormick@therouge.org for details. We also have opportunities for anyone in the public to join board committees as well, and no election is required. So please reach out and I can connect you with the chair of your preferred committee. So we have 10 official committees of the board, 9 of which are open to the general membership. Those include our board development committee, our fund development committee, our finance committee, our membership committee, advocacy committee, as well as our Lower Rouge River Water Trail Leadership Committee, Restoration Committee, Monitoring Committee, and the Rouge Education Project Committee. And also we have an advisory committee, which is a little bit different than, or I'm sorry, advisory council, which is a little bit different than our committees. Next slide, please. So Jessica was unable to be here this evening with us, but she does have a message to share with everyone. So Kara, please take it away. Kara, we can't hear the video.
Kara, you might have to reshare and make sure to click audio when you reshare. You might have to stop sharing there.
So maybe reshare. Oh,
when you reshare, there's a button for include audio.
Hi everyone, my name is Jessica Island Anders. I'm the current board president for the Friends of the Rouge. I just wanted to say thank you so very much to every single one of you for the contributions that you made to the organization over this past year, for volunteering your time, for donating to the organization, for showing up for various events. You all, our volunteers, have always been the backbone of Friends of the Rouge and the work that we are able to accomplish. So we really look forward to continuing to partner with our members going into this next year. And I, for one, am looking forward to seeing all of you at our upcoming events. So once again, thank you. I will give a round of applause to every single one of you for all that has been accomplished, and really looking forward to what we will be able to do moving forward.
Thanks so much, Kara. Next slide, please.
Hi, everyone.
Brilliant. Our team, I continue to be humbled by the passion and fortitude of the people I have the privilege to work with each day. Our team not only hold expertise, but heart for the work within our watershed. And each day they share their talents with the community, giving endlessly of their time beyond the confines of their job duties. So I will introduce all of our team members. First, I'm going to be introducing our team members that have been part of the team prior to March of 2022. That's just sort of earmarking the last time we had our annual meeting. So team members prior to March 2022 include, and I invite you to, if you're a team member, turn on your camera and say hello. We will not be sharing pronouns or personal descriptions during this time. But if you can, just say hello and then turn your camera off and your audio off too. So first, Kara Beld, our Operations and Membership Assistant.
Hi, everyone.
Thanks, Kara. Erin Cassidy, our Education Manager.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon.
Sam Davis, our Education and Monitoring Assistant. Sam, we didn't hear you.
Oh.
Yes, you are echoing, but that's okay. Hi, Sam. Brian Devlin, Landscape Architect and Restoration Mentor. He may not be on tonight. Laura Edwards, our Development Director.
Hello, friends. Hi there.
Dallas Ford, our Restoration Assistant. Also might not be on tonight. And Michael Grady is also our Restoration Assistant, who may also not be on as well. Karen Hanna, our Operations Director.
Hi, everyone.
Jacqueline Hecula, our Restoration Assistant or Coordinator. I'm so sorry, Jackie.
Yep. Hi, everybody. Good to have you on today.
Herman Jenkins, our Trails Manager.
Hello, everyone.
Renato Merriman, Restoration Coordinator.
Hello, everyone.
Sally Petrella, Watershed Ecologist.
Hi, everybody.
And Cindy Ross, Restoration Manager.
Hello, everyone.
And I'm so excited to present a slate of new team members as of April 2022. Since that time, we have brought on 8 new team members. So pretty cool. Some are here, some are not. So first we have Ty Bugby, Trails Assistant.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Ty. Lauren Eaton, Monitoring Manager. Deshae Mathis is our Administrative Database Specialist. She is not on yet. Sarah Steenberg, Restoration Landscape Architect.
Everyone.
Sarah. Amy Woodruff, Outreach Coordinator. Amy is not started yet. Maggie Labig, Restoration Assistant. And Jacqueline Christophic, Restoration Assistant, also is not on this evening, and Rosina Newton, Restoration Assistant.
Hello, everyone.
Thanks, team. While this is a virtual event, we have hundreds of planned events for the remainder of 2023. We will announce a few at the conclusion of this presentation, including a really unique member and volunteer appreciation event happening this June. An opportunity for you to meet all of these smiling faces that work every day for a better river. Next slide, please.
Marie, I promoted Lauren. You could let her introduce herself.
Oh, great. I'd love to have Lauren introduce herself as well, our new monitoring manager.
Hello, everyone. Sorry about that. Nice to meet you.
Hi, Lauren. Thanks for being here. And if you are not talking, please turn off your camera. So kicking off our Keystone meeting to discuss all the successes of 2022, this slide features 3 images. On the left are 2 people using magnets to pull garbage out of the Rouge. In the center is a group of young students from Salina Elementary gathered together in a green space. And on the right is a man with a blue sleeveless shirt and sunglasses holding a wheelbarrow in one of our rain gardens at Park. So you will find my leadership notes in our annual report. I have a slide following my notes that can lead you to a virtual copy. You're welcome to come into our office and get a hard copy as well. But a few takeaways from that report. So at our organization, we consider our mission to be our true north. It guides our daily actions, envisioned at a high level through the work of our strategic plan. This past year, and really every year, those of us in the trenches of grassroots environmental work consistently weave our daily work with a persistent tension between this idea of sobering and celebratory. Before 1969, rivers that meandered through America's industrial heartland were often on fire. Take our Rouge, which in 1969 of October caught fire. It was the cost of big business and economic expansion. And due to a lack of environmental regulation, a business first mantra, and general apathy towards Mother Nature, many of the factories that also powered our economic livelihood polluted much of the river. So a river on fire paired with those in the region that they really helped serve as a catalyst for the Clean Water Act of 1972. And so last year, we marked the 50th anniversary of the Clean Water Act. It's a piece of legislation that is estimated to keep over 700 billion pounds of pollution out of our waters annually. It has slowed the rate of wetland loss and doubled the number of waters that are safe for fishing and swimming. And levels of metals like lead in our water have declined dramatically. And now we at Friends of the Rouge are promoting recreation in the river as conditions improve. So that's a huge win for our neighborhood river. Yet we also continue to bear witness to the sobering gravity of climate crisis, of increased precipitation patterns, more frequent flooding, antiquated infrastructure, and we see how that directly affects our Rouge neighborhoods. And at the same moment, we have reason to celebrate victories in federal prioritization through Justice 40 initiative, which aims to address decades of underinvestment in disadvantaged communities. This initiative will bring resources to our Rouge communities most impacted by climate crisis, legacy environmental pollution, and a lack of access to their neighborhood river. So we have this dialectical dilemma that is constantly at play in accomplishing our mission and fueling the necessary passion, fortitude, and grit that binds us to this roll call. This is the reality of a collaborative, inclusive, and meaningful watershed work. So last year, we celebrated victories like wins for equity and access. The American Rescue Plan Act, or ARPA, dollars have permeated communities across the nation, with this trickle-down effect finally affecting Rouge communities. Many years of collaborative work have led to 7 of our planned universally accessible multi-use trailheads along the lower Rouge River Water Trail to be shovel-ready. And fingers crossed, fully funded to start construction, hopefully soon. As a major bonus, we also are on the way to seeing the second phase of a 2-decade-long planned Rouge River Gateway Greenway, which is about a 1.9-mile path connecting the Henry Ford to the University of Michigan Dearborn campus in Dearborn, come to fruition. It's on its way, and that will include 2 bridges measuring over 150 feet and 200 feet in length. This is a complex project that provides a missing piece to a regional non-motorized puzzle that will eventually connect all the way to Fort Street Bridge Park in Southwest Detroit, literally paving the way for people to ride their bike or walk unobstructed from Northville all the way to Detroit. And despite all of the celebration, we face sobering realities about the presence of PFAS and PFOA in the Rouge. These are members of a lab-made chemical group called per- and polyfluoroalkyl substances, of which are partnerships with the Ecology Center via the Healthy Fish, Healthy Communities, and Wayne State University Healthy Urban Waters have confirmed the presence of these chemicals in local Rouge fish. We were able to work with local anglers to collect fish tissue samples in 2 studies. And earlier this year, as you all, some may notice, the Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, EGLE, issued a do not eat fish consumption advisory in the lower Rouge, which was a devastating blow to a half a century of cleanup efforts made in our urban watershed. And yet, despite setbacks from emerging contaminants, President Biden announced a $1 billion investment from the bipartisan infrastructure law, which will significantly accelerate cleanup and restoration of the Great Lakes. An estimated $100 million will be dedicated to cleaning up industrial legacy contaminants like heavy metals, mercury, PCBs in the main stem of the Rouge. These dollars, paired with continued reinvestment in the Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, or the GLRI, currently support around 18 different habitat restoration projects in various stages of implementation in the Rouge watershed alone. So Friends of the Rouge supports these efforts as key stakeholders in the Rouge River Advisory Council, which is the public advisory council that oversees the implementation of the area of concern projects. Additionally, we support public engagement, outreach, and education efforts, and sit on the Area of Concern Statewide Public Advisory Council for Environmental Justice, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. EGLE and the EPA have made strides in their organizational commitments to furthering justice, equity, and inclusion with the formation of this subcommittee, and are shifting shifts in their funding framework, to name a few. This year, we were awarded, and I say this year, I mean 2022, we were awarded a subcontract to plant over 13,000 native trees with 13 different species in the lower Rouge River subwatershed area, roughly covering the areas of Wayne, Westland, and Inkster that overlap with Wayne County parks. In the spring and fall of 2022, we planted nearly 9,000 of those trees, with plans to plant the remainder of those in 2023, which actually just kicked off yesterday. Last year, we worked with over 360 volunteers who contributed over 1,360 hours of their time. And for the first time in the history of our organization, we held a land-based fundraiser deemed Heart of the Rouge. Many of you may have joined us for that celebration, where we widened the tent for over 350 volunteers, members, and supporters to celebrate the remarkable recovery of the Rouge in stark juxtaposition to the dark history of our river and the birth of the automobile. We stood together at the Phoenix Mill in Plymouth, which was formerly a woman-only staffed manufacturing facility, ripe with the history of our nation and the history of our Rouge. We cannot tell the story of this river without the story of the automobile and of the arsenal of democracy and the important role it played in securing the freedoms we enjoy today as Americans. That day, we reflected on the sobering and celebratory nature of that moment as witness to the remarkable resilience of the people, our community, and the river that threads all of us together, regardless of our background. Our incredible team of dedicated, knowledgeable staff work daily to meet the challenges of our mission and to continually celebrate even the smallest of wins. Over the last few years, our team has grown from a small but mighty team of 6 in 2017 to a team of 15 in 2022, and now in 2023, we have a team of 21. Part of that growth includes growing pains, and we have worked to holistically address an employee experience and compensation structure in the organization. Beyond having a meaningful role aligned to our organizational values, we've identified additional areas to improve that experience, including a focus on a work-life balance, career advancement, and the continued development of a diverse and inclusive workplace. This year, we implemented a new salary structure that mirrors other similarly sized nonprofits, including a full upgrade to our healthcare and paid time off benefits. The words of Maya Angelou strike me as I have spent the last several months reflecting on 2022. We delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the change it has gone through to achieve that beauty. While some of the parts of the past year and past years have been challenging, both personally and professionally, and challenging to our river, our country, and our organization, we have begun to see the brilliant wings emerge in the springtime of our environmental movement. So much hope lands on those wings. While just a snapshot of the past year, we hope you'll find this annual report and a more detailed account of the incredible work accomplished in 2022. So our Keystone programs continue to develop with the needs of our community in the changing watershed landscape. You will see that the progress in all this report this afternoon. As you listen to this virtual program, I hope it inspires continued participation with the Friends of the Rouge. Our organization thrives because of the generosity of so many of you who provide volunteer and financial support. We know the value of that generosity and thank all of you who've made that work to protect and preserve our Rouge River possible. For those of you who have tirelessly dedicated time and energy to the success of this organization, thank you. For those of you who are new, welcome. We look forward to working with all of you in 2022. Next slide, please. And so I'm excited to announce that our 2022 annual report is ready for your eyes. This front page depicts a group of smiling people standing with waders in a river. Several of the people are holding long wooden handles attached to nets that are partially submerged in the water. One person is holding a bucket. These people are working together to collect bugs at the bottom of the Rouge River. We'll have a link to the virtual version of the annual report on our website if you have not already gotten a virtual copy in a recent e-newsletter. And we'll also go ahead and pop that in the chat and the link for you now too. If you wish to have a hard copy, we will leave a stack of them outside the Friends of the Rouge headquarters here in Plymouth. We're on the second floor. You can feel free to come and grab a copy. Or you can also come into our offices during our regular business hours, Monday through Thursday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So up next, I'd like to introduce Karen Hanna, our operations director, who will discuss our 2022 financial performance. Karen.
Thank you, Marie. Welcome again, everyone. I'm Karen Hanna, the operations director. To describe myself, I'm a mature Caucasian female with shoulder-length blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm wearing a blue striped blouse and black rimmed glasses. My pronouns are she and her. This slide features a beautiful picture of a monarch butterfly atop a blossom of pink swamp milkweed. I am most honored to present the financial performance of Friends of the Rouge for the fiscal year 2022. Next slide, please. So Friends of the Rouge captured $4,175,826 in total revenue for 2022. This was the result of steadfast grant writing and zealous fundraising. This slide contains a multicolored pie chart with percentages allocated by revenue source. At the top of the pie chart in light blue, government grants made up 3% of total revenue, or $128,112. Following in a clockwise direction, the largest portion of our revenue came from foundation support. Anything with the word foundation in at the end is foundation support. This includes grants, general operating support, and restricted programmatic support. Revenue from all foundation sources in 2022 totaled $3,490,769. Other grants in gray made up 4% of total revenue, bringing in $176,341. In yellow, corporate support brought in 4% of total revenue, and community support in royal blue brought in 1%. Now, community support includes unrestricted individual giving that is not membership, fees for service, and we have some communities that support our Benthics program. So that's all included in community support. Rounding out our chart are fundraising in dark blue and membership in green, constituting 5% of total revenue with $219,215 raised. For those of you who may have gotten a copy of our annual report or saw it online, we did forecast the year to end with $4,644,279 in revenue. However, as it happens in nonprofit accounting, when certain giving conditions are present, a nonprofit must account for revenue in the year that it is promised. 2 such grants were anticipated in 2022, but the stipulations were not met by the end of the year to count that as 2022 revenue. So that'll be counted in this year's revenue. These grants together totaled $468,454. Next slide, please. I want to stop here for a minute because it's important to note the 2 classifications of contributions, unrestricted and restricted. This slide contains a pie chart split into 2 to represent these classifications. Looking at the green slice, unrestricted contributions, this is any revenue raised from governments, corporations, foundations, and individuals that can be used for general operating expenses, or any purpose that fulfills our mission. For us, 2022 unrestricted revenue was $527,168. This means that of the 100% of the funding that we received, only 13% of that money could be used for overhead, growth, technology, professional development, and more importantly, other unfunded programmatic services that must be performed to fulfill our mission. The remaining 87% of the pie represents restricted revenue. Restricted revenue is usually revenue from governments, foundations, and other grants, but it's not unusual for corporations and individuals to restrict their giving. All of this revenue has been permanently restricted by the donor and can only be used for specific projects. In some instances, these are multi-year grants, and these revenues will be released as expenses for those grants are incurred each year. Improper use of restricted funding can result in severe penalties or even the loss of an organization's tax-exempt status. We take this very seriously and have always kept a strict account of restricted funding for that reason and in consideration of our annual audit. Next slide, please. This slide contains 2 multicolored pie charts. Both illustrate revenue allocation. Now, in 2022, Friends of the Rouge applied for and received a $2.7 million grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation and support from the Gilbert Family Foundation for our Lower Rouge Water Trail project. Revenue from these 2 sources together made up 63% of our total revenue. The unusual nature of that support caused a large variance in the revenue ratio. So I wanted to create a graph with that revenue removed and look at the results to make a fair comparison. The smaller pie chart on the left is the original chart from the first slide. And at the right-hand side, you can see the revenue with that foundation support removed. So you can see the differences. There's vast differences in the revenue percentages. Moving on to our expenses. Next slide, please. Thank you. Total expenses from 2022 were $1,516,603. This slide has a multicolored pie chart that illustrates the breakdown of expenses as they are presented in the fiscal year-end income statement and annual audit. Starting again at the top and working clockwise, direct fundraising expenses in yellow made up 5% of total expenses. Salaries and benefits in blue, 59%. Direct program expenses in orange, 24%. Direct administrative costs in gray made up 12%. Net income for 2022 was $2,659,222. Now keep in mind that this is not money that can be reinvested in the organization. This revenue will be restricted and combined with previously restricted net assets in order to fulfill grant obligations into 2023, 2024, and 2025. Next slide, please. Thank you. So since we are a service industry, a more accurate depiction of our expenses would be to allocate all salaries and benefits into program and overhead. Presented on this slide is another pie chart split into 3 sections. Instead of starting at the top, I'm going to start about 1 o'clock. Program expenses made up 68% of our total expenses, which is higher than the 65% recommended by the Better Business Bureau. The organization's overhead made up the remaining 32% of expenses, and they're broken down here by administrative in general and fundraising. I'd like to talk about overhead for a minute, or rather the overhead myth. The overhead myth is an age-old pervasive theory that organizations that spend least on overhead are seen as the most effective. Those that spend more on overhead are seen as less effective, and as a result may receive less support. Nonprofits need to invest in overhead for myriad reasons. The ability to hire and retain competent staff, to fund basic operating costs, paying the rent, utilities, etc., and to invest in fundraising and technological innovations that can result in raising funds to use towards our mission and to increase outcomes. Overhead is not only worthwhile, but it's a critical step in making an impact. The federal government recognizes the importance of funding their fair share of overhead costs, so allows organizations to negotiate an indirect cost rate with them each year, allowing grant recipients to recover costs that cannot be directly allocated to a specific program or project. Friends of the Rouge has successfully negotiated a federal indirect cost rate each year since 2020. Most grants will now allow us to use this rate in our budget proposals. Without a negotiated indirect cost rate, organizations are faced with recovering a de minimis rate of 10%. And in 2022, Friends of the Rouge's overhead rate, negotiated overhead rate, was 42%. Next slide, please. This slide has a picture of a cute brown, white, and gray squirrel sitting with a nut in its hands. As members and funders, you already have our promise that we will be good financial stewards of your donations, but we also promise to be good stewards of your personal data. We know that any breach could have devastating and costly results. In 2021, a group of graduate students from the University of Michigan conducted an audit of our information security. The results helped us tighten up our policies and procedures in order to address the potential security risks brought to our attention in their report. In 2022, Friends of the Rouge made significant investments to improve our information and data security and office technology in order to establish a more reliable digital infrastructure. We also recognize that our employees are the first line of defense against cyber attacks. So we utilize a security awareness training platform to educate and train our employees. Employees complete security training modules quarterly, and we perform monthly phishing tests to keep our employees on their toes when it comes to avoiding phishing attacks, ransomware, and any other malicious malware attacks. Ensuring that your information is well protected remains a high priority for us, and we have and will continue to allocate resources to ensure the highest level of confidentiality and security. Next slide, please. This slide says thank you for your support and pictures bright yellow cup plant flowers. Well, all that revenue did not raise itself. So much hard work was put into raising over $4 million in one fiscal year. We honor all of our employees, board members, and volunteers who contribute their time and talent to raise funds for this organization. We appreciate your support and efforts. As we enter our 37th year as an organization, we will continue to strive always to ensure the prudent use of assets, money, and people, to establish and maintain judicious fiscal policies, and to produce accurate and transparent reporting. We always strive to provide our members and funders with all of the resources that they need in order to secure that their support is making a difference. We thank you for trusting us with your donations. That's the end of my part, and it's an absolute honor to introduce the remainder of this presentation. The amount of work that our employees, board members, and volunteers accomplish in a year is nothing short of astonishing. From the staff and volunteers who are most recognized to those of us who work behind the scenes, no one person is more valuable than another in making this organization successful. Thank you for watching. Next slide, please.
Hi everyone, my name is Kara Belt. I am the Operations and Membership Assistant with Friends of the Rouge. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a white woman in my 20s with shoulder-length brown hair. I'm wearing a green shirt. and I'm here at the Friends of the Rouge headquarters. Behind me is a window and some of our office plants. And today I am going to talk about our social media. Friends of the Rouge uses social media as a tool to reach and engage with the public. Currently, we utilize Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter to share upcoming events, highlights from events and projects, as well as news and educational content pertaining to the watershed. Facebook is our primary platform, serving as a virtual storefront for the Rouge store, a space where we live stream events and webinars, as well as where we consistently reach the largest audiences. In the top left of this slide, there are 3 images from our Facebook page. Some of you may recall this post in particular garnered over 10,000 in reach, which is comparatively high. These photos feature a group of hardworking volunteers from one of our woody debris workdays along the Lower Rouge Water Trail, building better access for paddling. Another highlight we want to share is across programs, over 8,300 volunteers participated in events during 2022. Thank you to many of you here today who are likely part of these volunteer groups. In the orange table on the right, you will see that Facebook reach has remained high at over 700,000, with a slight drop in 2022, likely due to many events fully resuming to in-person based format. This chart also illustrates that Facebook likes and followers have grown consistently by an average of about 500 each year since 2020. Friends of the Rouge has placed a major focus on education and public outreach, with social media channels, specifically Facebook, being one of the key ways we continue to carry out this objective. And from here, I'll turn it back over to Marie to touch on earned revenue. Thank you.
Thanks, Kara. So I'm going to talk about the bottom table you see here. It's in kind of a purplish blue color on the bottom right. So earned media value or earned media value equivalency, it's a method that we use to calculate the importance of branded content that is gained through the marketing or PR efforts. It's not paid media, it's not advertising, and not from owned, like it didn't come from directly from outside media channels. So this includes like blogs, referrals, social posts, influencer marketing, reviews, etc. So you can see in the blue table that in 2022, we exceeded our expectations with over 88 media hits, 307 million impressions, and 2.8 million in earned media. And I think it's safe to say we're looking forward to breaking this goal once more. With that, I would like to introduce Laura Edwards, our Development Director.
Hello. Can someone give me a thumbs up if you can see and hear me?
Thumbs up.
Brilliant. Okay. Thank you. Hello, friends. My name is Laura Edwards. My pronouns are she, her. I am a Caucasian woman in my 40s with brown curly hair and a stitch of the flu. So bear with me. I'm coming to you live from my home office, surrounded by my children's joyful art. And my role with Friends of the Rouge is Development Director. I oversee corporate and individual giving, which includes membership. This role allows me the privilege of meeting you, the friends, the members, the supporters across the organization. And the pictures on this slide show the richness of what you are doing, what caring people like you are doing to improve your hometown river. There are 2 pictures of young students in waders experiencing the wonder of being in the Rouge River and the magic of discovering the life within. In the second row of images, there is a man holding a wheelbarrow, and next to him, an entire group of volunteers with jazz hand gloves saying hello, and both of these images come from Rain Garden Volunteer Impact Days. In the bottom row, you'll see a wonderful log jammer, a woman moving free-floating logs away from the middle of the river, opening up a channel for paddling at a woody debris workday. And next to her, two women side by side taking a break from planting Michigan native plants at a church rain garden in Detroit. And finally, at the top row, you will see some joyful art illustrations, thanks to Jody Lynn Burton, that celebrate you and your hometown river. Oh, I forgot to mention, the top middle is the logo from our Heart of the Rouge event. And on the left, you will see a channel catfish, a true comeback kid, a success story of your hometown river. And this catfish is saying, thank you. And really, so are we. A giant thank you, friends. You envisioned a world where your hometown river is clean and vibrant and full of life. And then you stepped up to help us build it. Thank you. Thank you for being a part of this community of thoughtful people who stand for something better. The bar graph that you see on this page shows a little bit about how this community has been growing in the last 5 years. Member households are now at 668, up from below 300 in 2018. And so to the amazing members, partners, supporters, and sponsors, a warm thank you. You make the world a better place in so many interesting and different ways. It is an honor for Friends of the Rouge to be a part of your good work. It is a privilege to serve you and to work alongside you for that dream of a clean and vibrant river in your backyard, in your neighborhood, in your hometown. And to those of you who are not yet members, we say, come join us. Come make this team even better. A warm thank you, and back to Marie.
Thank you so much, Laura. And it's true, our members you are the backbone to the organization. So thank you again for all of your incredible support. So now I have the opportunity to talk a little bit about advocacy in the organization. In 2022, our organization continued to play a role in guiding public knowledge about important issues in the watershed. The images on this slide depict on the top right, Governor Whitmer with two children who are my children and me standing in front of the Detroit River. The bottom right is an image of the Rouge River Industrial Corridor at sunset. And the image on the left is a grouping of photos or a word cloud created from our report on advocacy efforts in the Rouge. So we advocate for the health of our watershed, our Rouge River and its tributaries, and all of those, both the human and non-human, who live here. We value the rich racial and ethnic diversity of our watershed and see that as a key factor in advancing our mission and deepening our work in the communities we strive to serve. So we appreciate the opportunity to serve on different councils, committees, and events where Friends of the Rouge can lay the framework for mission-driven, meaningful advocacy and lobbying to educate and advise on issues relevant to our work. This work lives within the legal framework of a nonprofit and is informed by extensive research and guided by examples set by other nonprofits which operate effective and legally acceptable practices. So some of the highlights of our advocacy efforts over the past year include I had the opportunity to present to state and federal legislators at the Great Lakes Week virtually in Washington, D.C. in 2022. And this year I was able to attend in person in D.C., which was very exciting. I also was elected to the Michigan Environmental Council Board of Directors. as a member appointee. So I am serving as a Friends of the Rouge representative. And I'm also continuing my service on the Policy Advisory Committee. And now I actually chair that committee. So I advise MEC staff on member groups' responses to legislative issues related to water. We also, as an organization, maintain a very active role in the Rouge River Advisory Council, also affectionately known as the RRAC, that serves as the Public Advisory Committee, or the PAC, for the Rouge River Area of Concern. This group oversees large-scale habitat projects meant to delist the Rouge as an area of concern. And I was actually elected to be chair of that in January of 22. Through that, the organization, we led a complete revision of the bylaws, and now I serve on the statewide Public Advisory Council's Environmental Justice, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Subcommittee that advocates for diversity, equity, and inclusion practices within the AOC program. Also, Friends of the Rouge has been active in signing on to a variety of letters that support federal initiatives, including the continued implementation of the new SRF, or State Revolving Fund, funding provided by the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act of 2021. We signed on a letter urging Congress to quickly come to an agreement on a final fiscal year 2023 appropriations package that enhances the federal government's support for Great Lakes restoration and clean water priorities. We requested that the administration fully fund the Environmental Protection Agency's Great Lakes Restoration Initiative, or the GLRI, at no less than $425 million in the president's fiscal year 2024 budget request. We stood with Healing Our Waters Coalition, Great Lakes Coalition, to support the Water Resource Development Act of 2022, also called WRDA, and its provisions, which serve to strengthen the resiliency of our communities and restoration of the Great Lakes, and supported United States Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers in their proposal of a rule to revise the definition of waters of the U.S. under the Clean Water Act. So that's just a little snapshot. Advocacy has steadily increased over the past year, with Friends of the Rouge Board of Directors formalizing their advocacy committee in August 2020. This committee assists the executive director in making informed decisions regarding response and participation, like our comments are on environmental issues, which we have, and many of you probably know, been fairly active in the last couple of months. So we continue to grow this role and seek opportunities for personal and professional development as Friends of the Rouge moves into more advocacy and lobbying work. We are encouraged and honored by the public reception and the level of trust that the public places in us. And just as a reminder, please remember to put your comments and questions in the Q&A section. Up next, I have the honor of introducing Cindy Ross, our restoration manager, who will kick off our programmatic updates.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Marie. It's so great to hear all the work that we do. It inspires me, even though I know what we do. Hi, everyone. I'm Cindy Ross. I'm the restoration manager for Friends of the Rouge. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a middle-aged white woman with straightened shoulder-length blonde hair. I'm wearing a plum-colored shirt with a peach jacket and rose-framed glasses. I'm sitting in my home office with white bookshelves featuring photos of my family behind me. However, my background is blurred. Photos on this page are a collage of photos showing our volunteers in action, building rain gardens, maintaining rain gardens, working to plant tree seedlings along the Lower Rouge, and building a rain barrel. Friends of the Rouge restoration programming continued to grow and expand in 2022. Our restoration team coordinated 166 educational and hands-on events in 2022. These events engaged just under 2,400 people in rescuing the Rouge every day. Volunteers contributed 4,500 hours to building a better Rouge River through the creation of 36 new rain gardens, maintaining 34 existing rain gardens, planting just over 9,000 trees, controlling invasive shrubs, cleaning up trash, and by helping to make our 2 native plant and rain barrel sales a success. An additional 1,500 hours were spent learning about the Rouge River rain gardens, pollinators, rain garden maintenance through our Rain Gardens to the Rescue and Master Rain Gardener courses, as well as single event seminars. Now, I can't report on all of our teams of Team Restoration's accomplishments in the few short minutes that I have to share with you today. You can find this information in our printed report, but I thought I'd share a few highlights to demonstrate our impact. Last spring, we embarked on a new type of project for us. You've heard a little bit about this already. This work has had us tromping through the woods along the Lower Rouge to reforest Wayne County parkland from Canton to Dearborn. We set out on a mission to plant 13,400 tree seedlings across 80 acres of mostly floodplain, and you showed up, hundreds of you. Together, we planted just under 9,000 trees across a 44-acre stretch of the Lower Rouge Parkway. This reforestation project will provide decades of impact as the trees grow and provide a plethora of benefits, from improving the health of the river by providing shade during warm summer months, managing billions of gallons of stormwater, providing in-stream food and habitat from fallen leaves and branches, and taking in excess nutrients, which are a pollutant in our waterway. The trees also provide upland habitat, reduce carbon, improve recreational experiences within the park, paddling, hiking, bird watching, and so much more. The project has touched the lives of many students from the University of Michigan Dearborn, corporate groups, Kiwanis and Rotary clubs, individuals, families, school groups, and scouts all came out to help plant trees to improve their Rouge River. The project received a lot of attention from the press. We had live coverage from Fox 2 and Channel 7 during their newscasts, which was a lot of fun. The project is part of a larger project funded by a more than $4 million US EPA Great Lakes Restoration Initiative grant, the Alliance of Rouge Communities, all in partnership with Wayne County Parks. The project is carried over into 2023, as Marie has said. We've just begun our work to install another 4,400 seedlings to complete the 80-acre coverage area. And we'll also be monitoring the survival rate of the trees we planted last year and place protective weed mats around the seedlings. Join your friends and neighbors this Earth Month and plant a tree for the Rouge River. Visit us online to learn more. Much of our work in 2022 was also focused on soaking up the rain through the installation of 36 new rain gardens. These rain gardens were installed in Detroit, Highland Park, Redford Township, Farmington Hills, Plymouth Township. The gardens have the capacity of keeping 72,500 gallons of rainwater from flowing into the sewer system every time it rains. And that's pretty huge. In communities serviced by combined sewer systems, this means less sewage and other pollutants from entering the river during times of heavy rain and snowmelt, and less basement backups in homes. I'm sure you all remember the newscasts of people losing all of their precious memories or treasures from their flooded basements just last year. In communities with separate storm sewers, this means a reduction in flow and pollutants going into the river during every rainfall, slowing down those surges of flow while it's raining. Critical for habitat, critical for the health of the river. The rain gardens have replaced over 12,000 square feet of lawn with beautiful gardens full of native plants that not only soak up the rain, but provide food and homes for butterflies, birds, and other important life, as well as calming and restorative space for people right in their own neighborhoods or in their own backyards. We're grateful to the Fred A. and Barbara M. Family Foundation, the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation, and the U.S. Forest Service for funding this important work. On behalf of Friends of the Rouge and the restoration team, I personally thank you for helping to improve our Rouge River. We can't do this alone, and you are everything to us. So thank you for all your help and support. And next, I'd like to introduce Erin Cassidy. She's our education manager.
Thank you, Cindy. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me and see me? Let's see. I'm Erin Cassidy. I am the education manager with Friends of the Rouge. I use she, her pronouns. I am a Caucasian woman in my 30s with long, straight brown hair, and I'm wearing brown square frame sunglasses, a white V-neck short sleeve shirt with blue flowers, and a pair of white corded headphones. I am coming to you from my home office in a small yellow bedroom where there are 2 dressers behind me and a white paneled closet door. While our education programming continues to expand, we did continue our 35-year-long tradition of working with teachers as part of our Rouge Education Project. Pictured here on the left, we have 2 high school students from Huron Valley Lutheran High School in Westland, where one is sitting and the other is kneeling on a bridge with a laptop in front of them and the river below them. One student's wearing goggles and gloves, and they're both running the dissolved oxygen test from that blue test kit with a small glass bottle containing a yellow colored liquid. Another picture on the right features Clippert Academy in Detroit's 6th grade students and their teacher, Tracy Ortiz, standing on the banks of the river with 10 children and their teacher at the top of the bank, and 3 students below in the river wearing waders and carrying nets. Some students are holding white trays with samples from the bottom of the river, and all are wearing blue vinyl gloves, and they're all looking at the camera and smiling and having a great time. Our teachers are trained on water quality testing techniques, and then they take their students on a field trip to the river in the spring and fall for hands-on science. They look at the bugs, they run chemical tests on river water, do a land use and habitat assessment as well. We are continuing to bounce back in participation since COVID shutdowns and worked with 13 schools last year. To highlight the work of just one of our schools, Detroit Country Day Middle School took the information that they gained from their water quality experience, and they grouped their students into small groups with a set budget. And each group came up with a project idea to help the ecosystem, such as building birdhouses, promoting water conservation, planting native plants, picking up litter, and planting trees. Each class voted, and so one project was completed per class as part of our effort to encourage student-led action projects based on the information they learned through checking on the health of the river. We also continued a partnership with the Arrow Cats and Rover Education Network, and that is to get new technology in the hands of teachers, such as water quality monitoring probeware and kites or a Land Rover that are equipped with data collecting sensors, such as humidity and temperature. These data are accepted by an international citizen science program called GLOBE, and a lot of the students continue their own research projects after exposure to these instruments. For example, one group of students did a crayfish assessment looking at the numbers of crayfish and the types of crayfish they were finding compared to dissolved oxygen levels and other parameters. And another group continued looking at nitrate level trends in the Rouge. As part of this partnership and a new partnership, we hosted a water quality testing day last summer at Ford Field in Dearborn for the Environmental Health Research to Action Group, which is a summer program for high school and recent graduates out of the University of Michigan Dearborn. We led data collection to help students choose an area of focus for an action project. One group of students that we worked with was very interested in some of the high nitrate levels that we were finding in the Rouge and centered their final presentation on that. In addition to working with young people, we began drafting a Welcome to the Watershed packet for our local elected and appointed officials. And these are designed to highlight issues in the watershed and what government officials can do about it. We're very close to having this finished and are looking forward to using it as a tool to introduce ourselves and build relationships with these folks. We also trained a small group of volunteers to represent us at tabling events, and we are able to attend more tabling events now more than ever with this increased capacity. As part of our tabling experience, we were awarded a grant from the aforementioned GLOBE program to develop an Earth Around Us water-themed tent, and that will feature a 10 by 10 pop-up tent with artistic side panels working with the water theme and some immersive activities. So that'll be a really cool tool that we'll be able to roll out once we get that developed. We continue to build out what is called a speakers bureau, looking to experts in the community that have mission-aligned presentations they would like to give to groups, and creating a clearinghouse on our website for the public to find those. We even have a new offering for a native Rouge fish presentation for any folks that are interested, by our very own member, Bob Muller, who may or may not be on this presentation tonight. Finally, we continue to deepen our engagement within all of our Rouge River communities, identifying what strengths currently exist, what local leaders and groups are already doing, what work we're already doing in these communities, and finding any shared values or opportunities to collaborate. We have really exciting things in store for 2023 as we continue to grow. Thank you so much for your time, and I will now turn it over to Sally Petrella, our watershed ecologist, for an update on our monitoring programs.
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everybody. Great to be here tonight. I am Sally Petrella. I'm a watershed ecologist. I use she, her pronouns. I'm a middle-aged woman of European descent with glasses and long, straight, graying hair, and am wearing a white sleeveless shirt. On my slide here, on the left slide, are photos of 7 different people with fishing poles or other gear. On the right side of my slide are photos of people monitoring, including a woman electroshocking for fish and another group of women taking blood from a fish. So 2022 was a really big year for Friends of the Rouge monitoring programs. We continue to sample for bugs and simple frogs and toads, sample for fish and mussels, search for invasive plants. But we also added some new elements, especially in how we collected fish and what we looked for in fish. So for our benthic macroinvertebrate monitoring program, which you know is our bug hunts and stonefly searches, we had 65 participants in our stonefly search, 73 for our spring bug hunt, 89 for our fall bug hunt, for a total of 227, and covered 108 sites. This was supported by our intern, Amber Puckett, who's pictured in the photo at the top right. She's in the middle. She was with us from the winter into the spring. And then we were very excited in March to bring on education and monitoring assistant Sam Davis, who started out part-time, who now has made herself essential, and we made her full-time. So with her help, we were able to assess 12 stream sites for habitat. It's a new thing. And we also surveyed 2 sites for freshwater mussels. What are we finding? Scores for the bug hunt for bugs in the Rouge continue to be fair. We also had a PhD student do some analysis of our data and actually saw an association with lower bug scores in communities that have high poverty levels. So interesting connection there, we'll continue to examine. For our frog and toad survey, we had 173 volunteers participate. I know more than one of them is on the call tonight, so thank you. They surveyed 133 blocks and contributed 429 hours of time. And, you know, our data this year was used to help convince officials to create a nature preserve up in Beverly Hills. And several of our volunteers attended zoning hearings and spoke up for protection of the wetlands that we're monitoring. So a lot of development pressure these days out in the headwaters of our watershed, and our frog and toad survey volunteers know firsthand the value of those wetlands and are speaking up about it. So thank you. We also completed our second year of surveying for an invasive aquatic plant called European frogbit. Looks like a little mini lily pad, crowds out wetland plants. Pictured on the right side in the middle in a red sweatshirt is one of two interns. That's Miriam. She and Sam and another intern surveyed 229 ponds and water bodies and actually found frogbit in 3 of those ponds. And then in July, we engaged 22 day campers in Westland in learning how to sample for bugs, fish, tie flies, cast a line for fish in a partnership with Trout Unlimited. You saw photos of this on the front of our 2022 annual report and in some of Laura's photos. So fish was a big story for 2022. One of the new things was U of M graduate student Olivia Williams, who's pictured down on the far right corner of my slide. She decided to focus her master's thesis on examining the fish community in the Rouge. So she worked with us to sample 58 sites in the Rouge, and our fish team assisted her in many of those sites. She taught us a new technique of using electroshocking, which is the DNR's standard method. And her research is going to be looking at a model that predicts what fish you would expect to find in the Rouge, redoing that model and comparing what we're finding to kind of give us an overall view of what the fish community is doing in the Rouge. She's going to be wrapping up that research at the end of December. In addition to that, she actually compared the technique of electroshocking to what we've been using for 10 years, seining, using a net to chase fish into. And surprisingly, she found that our seining method is just as robust as electroshocking. And for the Rouge that is so full of sediment at times, it's actually more effective. So it validates the technique that we're using. So in addition to assessing the fish community, we entered into a couple of partnerships that Marie touched on to actually look at what's in the fish. So the emerging contaminant per and polyfluoroalkyl substances, those forever chemicals that are used in firefighting foam, nonstick pans, waterproofing, your raincoat probably has PFAS on it. Those chemicals are being found in our waterways and in our fish. And they cause a multitude of health problems. So we partnered with the Ecology Center on a very unusual project where we recruited 6 local anglers to collect the fish for us using a hook and line. And they're all pictured there on the left side of my slide. Those 6 local anglers collected fish from 15 Rouge and Huron sites. And we then sent them in for PFAS testing. Unfortunately, partway through that survey, the state health department announced a do not eat advisory for sunfish and bluegill from the lower Rouge because they were also finding high levels of PFAS. So in an additional partnership with Wayne State University, we also collected fish. They actually came out with us to the site. We handed the fish to them. They took blood, they took samples, and then they stitched the fish back together and put it back in the river. So hopefully no harm was done to the fish. Unfortunately, with both of those projects, with all the fish, we analyzed 100 fish that the anglers caught, and Wayne State is still analyzing those fish, but we did find PFAS in every single fish. But as a result of this work, we're getting a lot of traction on calls for stopping the production of these chemicals, polluter pay laws, cleanups, and revising some of these fish consumption advisories that are probably far too high of a level where they're actually already causing problems to our health. So you've probably seen in the news, and I just have to say thank you to these anglers. A lot of them have come out as spokespeople for, fisher people, anglers concerned about what's going on with our fish. as we look at 2023, which we're already partway through, we're continuing with these initiatives. We will continue to do more PFAS testing in fish, look for Olivia's analysis in December. We also are working with the University of Maryland on a Rouge River report card that should be out this fall or possibly early next year. And then we also are embarking on a couple of new initiatives, one of which is surveying for the invasive red swamp crayfish, which is a big problem in the watershed, and we've got some grant funding to see how far it's spread. And then we also are looking to do culvert inventories in the lower to look at different bridges, culverts, to see if they impede fish passage, and that way we can prioritize areas for possible bipartisan infrastructure law funding to fix those problems so that the fish can get through. So it's been a great year. We continue to grow these programs, and just in closing, I just want to say thank you. I feel so lucky to be a part of Friends of the Rouge. And I love your support in allowing us to do this work. So next up is Herman Jenkins. He is our trails manager, and we're so lucky to have him, all this exciting stuff about trails. So thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Hello, everyone. It's great to be with you. My name is Herman Jenkins. I'm the trails manager for Friends of the Rouge. I use he, his pronouns. I'm a African-American Black man. I am my eyes and hair are brown. I have long dreadlocks, goatee beard, neatly trimmed, and I'm wearing a blue button-down shirt with Friends of the Rouge logo embroidered in white, and reading glasses, as in my 40s, my eyes are beginning to fail me. As the renowned sportscaster Brent Musburger would say, at Open Every Broadcast, you are looking live at a map of the Lower Rouge River Water Trail at the very top of this slide. This map details the planned and existing launches on the lower branch of the Rouge River. There are also 3 photos at the bottom that illustrate some of the different aspects of the water trail. In the first photo, you will see the holy grail of built infrastructure on the Lower Rouge. A universally accessible boat launch. This is what we are hoping to develop on the trail at the 9 strategically placed launch points on the lower branch of the Rouge River. You can see that for persons with disabilities, for a beginning paddler like myself, it will be much easier to access the water utilizing the gangway and the floating platform lying there in the river. The second photo you see is a picture of a group of paddlers on the industrial stretch of the Lower Rouge River Water Trail. In the background is an image of the Ford Rouge manufacturing complex. The experience of paddling through the industrial channel is like going on a journey through the history of manufacturing in Detroit. And then the next photo is taken upstream in the city of Dearborn. You see a 10-foot skeleton overlooking the pond there with some kayaks in the background from our haunted paddle trip in 2022. Friends of Rouge spearheading the community-led effort to establish a 29-mile water trail and network of connected greenways on the lower branch of the Rouge River. The Rouge Gateway Greenway will fill in gaps and connect the Lower Rouge communities to a larger regional network of trails, including the Joe Louis Greenway, Downriver Link Greenways, and the Iron Bell Trail, as well as the Great Lakes Way. The Rouge River Watershed is an industrialized region with high rates of chronic disease and historic disinvestment in social and environmental conditions. Our goal is to restore this undervalued asset back to the people and back to communities for their recreation and enjoyment. We understand that Blue Ways help improve health and quality of life by providing places for exercise, recreation, and community gatherings. And our research also shows that people are healthier when there's meaningful access to outdoor recreation and nature in their community. In 2022, tremendous progress was made through the community coalitions within the Lower Rouge River Water Trail Leadership Committee to advance our built environment projects on the water trail. As Marie mentioned earlier, 7 of the 9 planned launches designated in the 2019 Water Trail Strategic Plan are either 100% shovel ready or nearing the final stages of design development. We anticipate up to 4 launches potentially coming online within the next 24 to 36 months, with 2 launches planned at Venor Dorsey Park and Westland expected to come online hopefully by the end of this year. The universally accessible boat launch at Melvindale's Kesey Fieldhouse was funded through Wayne County Economic Development ARPA funding, American Rescue Plan Act funding, and a contribution from the Office of Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib's Community Projects Fund. In the city of Dearborn, we were delighted to know has revived its plans for wooded debris management and is working toward an extension on DNR trust fund dollars already allocated for construction of 2 launches in the city of Dearborn. We received, as you heard, a $2.5 million grant from the Ralph C. Wilson Foundation to help bring us closer to realizing construction of the Rouge Gateway Greenway Phase 2 that will connect the U of M Dearborn to the Henry Ford. This funding will also facilitate design development of Phase 3 of the Rouge Gateway Greenway that will end at Rotunda Drive. We continue to quest for the balance of funding and hope that this project will be funded through Wayne County Economic Development's American Rescue Plan Act allotment. We partner with the Inkster Task Force, the National Kidney Foundation, and the City of Inkster, Wayne County Parks to secure funding from the Community Foundation for Southeast Michigan to help fund design development and community engagement for a multi-purpose trailhead in Inkster Park. And we also received that grant from the Gilbert Family Fund that gave us roughly 30% of the funds needed for construction at 4th Street Bridge Park, Detroit's only access point to the Rouge. This funding also allowed us to bring our Trails Assistant Ty Bugby, who we're delighted to have on board with our Trails team. Ty has an amazing background. He's an ACA certified paddler. He's been awesome in the field already, connecting and championing our work, and we're very happy to have him. We're also able to secure a trailer for our program to store our boats and equipment. With this funding, our goal is to utilize that trailer to expand our dry dock pop-up experience and use that trailer as an extension of our pop-up exhibit. Speaking of dry dock pop-ups, we completed over 24 engagements in 2022, meeting people where they live, work, and play to champion our trails work, where we bring our canoe, our terrain model, and really just share information about our trails plans and opportunities to sit in a boat, try a PDF on land, and it's been a great way to spread the goodwill and introduce paddling as a healthy fitness alternative. We're very grateful to the National Kidney Foundation for their support of this project. Let's see here. We hosted 8 paddle trips this past year, including a birding paddle trip on Newburgh Lake with Detroit Audubon, where we discovered over 14 different bird species. It's an amazing experience. Our outdoor Afro paddle in partnership with Detroit Outdoor Afro, an organization committed to creating outdoor experiences for BIPOC communities. And again, we hosted our first ever haunted paddle trip on the Rouge with haunted scenes and surprises along the trail. Nearly 50 participants that day, featured live look-ins on Fox 2 throughout the morning. Many paddlers showed up in costume. It was just an awesome time. We look forward to continuing this work in 2023. Our next event is a Log Jam Workday, April 22nd in Inkster's Colonial Park from 10 a.m. to 1, and a birding paddle trip May 13th on Phoenix Lake, 9:30 to 12. You can visit therouge.org /water trail/events for more details and to register. And thank you guys very much for your willingness to join us this evening.
Thank you so much, Herman. And thank you to the entire team who have made this incredible work possible. Whether you're a board member, a staff member, a member, a volunteer, someone who's come to one event, someone who's come to dozens, thank you so much. It's really, really cool to see all this progress. So now we're going to be moving into our final phase of our program, which is the Best Friends of the Rouge Awards. This award was introduced in 1993 to honor those who have gone above and beyond their job description or regular call of duty to help the river. The image in this slide shows 5 muddy boots from 5 different people pointed together after a long walk in the woods after a rain. The first recipients of this award were Dr. Oren Gelderloos as an educator, John Dingle as elected official for his work with the Rouge River National Wet Weather Demonstration Project, DWSD as a governmental unit, and Steve Marshall, who's a founding board member, as an individual. We have so many individuals who make the Rouge Watershed a better place to live, work, and play. So this year I'm going to announce our awardees by rolling through a short series of photo slides, but they will be honored in June at our in-person event. And following this scroll, I'll give you some more details about that event. So congratulations to the following. Next slide, please. Motor City Canoe Rental, Martin Nabrowski. Mercedes-Benz Financial Service. Our park champions, which include Colleen Strum, Linda Godeski, Ian Nicol, Linda Vanderland, and Therese Nagyai. Thank you so much. I've seen y'all out there. You're amazing. Next slide, please. Our former chair, Laura Wagner. Irma Liepart. Olivia Williams, and Olivia is our Young Environmental Leaders Award awardee. Next slide. So on behalf of Friends of the Rouge Board of Directors and the staff, I'd like to congratulate all of you on being selected as recipients of the Best Friend of the Rouge Award for 2022. You've been selected for this award because of your enthusiasm for our mission, because you've gone above and beyond to support action for a better Rouge River. We are excited to announce these awardees who have gone far beyond the call of duty of the watershed and to help in their own way. So all these individuals will be honored at our volunteer and membership appreciation event on June 22nd at the Warrendale Pavilion in Wayne County Parks, which is located in Dearborn Heights at 6 p.m. I hope you will join us, and in a moment we'll share a slide with more of the event information. Before I do that, I just want to do a quick look ahead, and I'm going to skip any of the look aheads that some of our program managers shared. So one, I just want to reiterate that we continue to deepen our work around diversity, equity, and inclusion and justice, and we continue to seek new ways to expand relationships with the communities that we serve. We have Earth Day events this month. They've already started with some tree plantings, and we have Rouge Rescue 2022. So we just launched Earth Month, and in May we will launch Rouge Rescue Month. And a little plug, you still have time to buy native plants if you're interested on our store, and those will be delivered in person on May 13th. You have options to also have those shipped directly, as well as rain barrels. Also, just expansion of our water trail and its future. There's a lot of hopeful progress on implementing built environment projects around our trail work, both water trailheads as well as the greenway connections that we mentioned. The continued expansion of our restoration work to a regional level via a social enterprise collaborative with our sister watershed groups, including a green collar workforce development program and a suite of restoration services that you can hire us to help you with. Also, I'm really excited to let you know that we have officially hired a lobbyist, Plunkett and Cooney, to assist our organization in finding support for our work at the state level. We have many built environment and long-standing programs that need financial support, and this is an avenue of fundraising that is very new and exciting step for the organization. And additionally, we continue growing participation in more policy and advocacy discussions. Friends of the Rouge has a desire to continue deepening our work across water topics to gain a deeper understanding of how to uplift our mission through local, regional, and national lens, and to address continued and sustained suburban development, among other challenges. And the last looking ahead is that before the end of the year, we will roll out a brand new website, and we will roll out entirely new brand guidelines. So stay tuned for that. We're really excited about what's coming ahead with that. Next slide, please. So with that, I cordially invite you to an in-person celebration with friends. It's an award ceremony and gathering on the Rouge, Thursday, June 22nd at 6 p.m. at the Warrendale Park Pavilion in Dearborn Heights in Wayne County Parks. So you can come meet and greet all the staff and board members, ask us questions, make a connection, or just enjoy the company of other folks who love their backyard river like you. And light picnic-like food will be provided. So we hope to see you there. Next slide, please. Also, I'd like to draw your attention to a few key dates here on this slide. You can visit our website for a full list of events and to register. And the image on the right side of the slide is an arrow with a white star. This is a medallion used in wayfinding to designate a point of interest. So the Friends of the Rouge continue to work tirelessly toward our vision of a future where a clean and vibrant Rouge River is the center of our community. Each and every one of you are the reason that we know that vision can become a reality. Next slide. We will upload this presentation to our website in the next day or two and share a link via our e-newsletter as well as on our social channels. Thank you so much for joining us. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak with you tonight. So at this time, we will transition to our Q&A session. And I just want to acknowledge that we are at 5:36. We did start at 4:05. So we will honor any questions that are in the chat or in the Q&A if needed. And if we can't get to your questions or comments, please feel free to reach out to us, email, phone, pop in the office during office hours, or of course, join us at one of our many events. So with that, I'm just gonna, first I'll ask the folks in the chat if there are any outstanding questions that would like to be addressed at this moment.
Yeah, Marie, there was one question early on from Ian Tran, and they ask, is Friends of the Rouge working with any connection to the Great Lakes Indigenous Fish and Wildlife Council or Institute of Tribal Environmental Professionals?
My understanding right now is that we are not working with them in a partnership, but that we would like to broach a conversation and create a partnership with groups like that. If you would be willing to facilitate a meeting, that would be very, very welcome. Thanks. Thank you for that question.
And that's all from the chat. So
someone also asked if there is a trail that goes to the fish ladder. So I was hoping Sally could answer that.
Sure, Karen, I'd be happy to answer that. So somebody is asking about trying to find a way to go take a look at the new fishway that they put around the Henry Ford estate. And there's been a lot of issues with that project, that creating fish passage around that waterfall was a big, complicated project that took a lot of engineering. And unfortunately, when they built the fish ladder and opened it up, then a couple of years ago, we had a lot of flooding and a lot of the vegetation got washed away. So it's been many years that they've been trying to reestablish that vegetation. And then one of the problems they've had is people going out there and climbing around on it. So I guess part of the answer to the question is yes, there is a bridge and there is a trail that goes there. Wayne County would really like you not to go there. So Jackie's saying last time she was there, the bridge is blocked off. And the county regularly tries to keep it blocked off. People do go around it. So we really do suggest that you not try to take the trails and go out there until they truly get the vegetation established. The fishway is still not officially open for fish passage. This year they did partially open it, so there is some flow in water. But I think it's not until next year that they will fully open it. So thanks for the question.
Thank you so much, Sally, for that answer. Really, really thorough. Are there any additional questions?
There's one in the chat that asks, what is the survival rate of the trees planted by Friends of the Rouge? That might be a Cindy question.
And actually, Rosina did provide answers, so there are a lot of answers already in the Q&A. So if there are already answers provided, we don't need to probably answer them. But Rosina wrote, we expect at least 60% survival rate on those trees. I don't know if you wanted to add anything, Cindy.
We will be monitoring this spring, and if you're curious, come on out and join us. We'd love to have the help.
Thank you, Cindy. Yeah, the Friends of the Rouge has about 4 plantings a week scheduled for the month of April and May. So if you are itching to plant a tree, we are the people for you.
Can I just add, in addition to planting trees, we will be doing the monitoring after the trees are in and placing weed mats around the seedlings that we planted last year. Supply chain issues prevented us from getting those weed mats until this year. So we'd love the help adding those to the trees, and that'll be extended into summer a little bit more as well.
Great, thanks for the additional information, Cindy. It was helpful.
Hi, Marie. As of now, there are no unresolved questions in the Q&A. So unless any more come through in the next couple minutes, then I think all questions have been asked and answered.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Sam. Thank you to all of our presenters tonight. Thank you to everyone who helped moderate questions and the chat. Thank you, Kara, for recording and advancing all the slides tonight. Thank you, everyone, for spending an hour and 42 minutes of your time with us this evening. It's been an absolute pleasure. Pleasure and joy to serve you and serve this incredible organization for this beloved river of ours. So I hope you all get a few more hours of this amazing weather before we revert back to winter for a little while. But everyone have a beautiful night. Thank you again from us here at Friends of the Rouge to you who help serve and protect our river. Have a good night.